predicting 2020 election for the selected states in the United States. Next. Every 4 years, results of presidential elections are determined by a small number of swing states. This means that some of the states are effectively non-competitive because the margin of votes in the state overall swings too far in the direction of a particular party. We examine a number of modeling approaches to determine if we can predict the outcome of the 2020 election based on demographics and historical voting patterns. Next. Alaska is historically a Republican state. It only voted for Democrats once in 1964. Since then, Republican Party wins by a large margin of votes, with more than 14% margin in the last 5 years. Alaska is not fully divided into counties, and with some counties altered and eliminated in the recent years, we couldn't use county data to model the state using a Monte Carlo approach. However, we know that the low percentage of college graduates and an increasing median age means that the state is very likely to remain Republican. Next. Indiana is one of the largest manufacturing states in the US with 500 million jobs in automotive and metal industries. Both of these industries suffered a lot during the Great Recession in 2008. Rapidly aging population means a lot of young people are choosing to leave the state to find jobs elsewhere. Next. Using a Monte Carlo simulation based on data of 4+6 elections, we can see that the overwhelming majority of counties is very likely to vote Republican. The only exception are urban areas such as big cities. Next.
This is Alex Molanco, and I was responsible for the state West Virginia. Looking at the data for West Virginia from 1960 to 2012, one can see that the Republicans won 6 out of 14 times. In 2016, Trump even received 68%, which was the highest win for Republicans in the state since 1960. Next. There is no clear trend between Republicans getting more votes each election and voter turnout. However, it looks different for the age category. One can see that the highest voter turnout of citizens of age between 18 and 24 was in 1996, as the Democrats have won. The peak was reached in 2012. Nearly the same trend can be observed for the age group 25 to 44. The voter turnout decreased year by year since 1996. For the age groups above 44, the trend goes exactly the other way around. One can observe an increase in voter participation. For the age group 45 to 64, doubled within 8 years from 1996 to 2004. This phenomenon helps to understand why the Republicans won the last years. While the young population, which tends to be Democratic, does not vote, the others start to vote even more. Next. In order to build a model, Monte Carlo simulation was used. One can clearly see that the confidence interval of the Democrats is very small and far below 50%. However, for Republicans, it is much higher, and the probability of receiving more than 50% above is clearly better than for Democrats. Therefore, I also predict that in 2020, there is no doubt that Trump is going to win the state. And now I would like to hand over to Constant.
Thank you. My name is Constant Wete. South Carolina is a Republican stronghold. They have won the 5 past elections in this state with a solid margin. And the issue that matters the most for the Democratic voter is jobs and economy and healthcare. And for the Republican voter is terrorism, jobs, and economy. Right? Now let's see how the different demographic category vote in South Carolina. First, we observed that the voting turnout of voter has increased for each population group. By the way, the share of white voter has decreased over the past elections in favor of the non-white. In terms of gender, the proportion of male female has stayed the same over the past election, but we noticed that the share of baby boomer, the voter 65 and up and 55, has increased more than the millennial. Next. Now, when we see the trends from 2008 to election to now, we see that the Republicans has increased their margin over the Democrats. Next. And after running Monte Carlo simulation, this confirms the trends that the Republican has more chance of winning North Carolina again in 2020. Next. Thank you. I will now pass to Christine.
Thank you. Republicans have won the last 10 elections in Texas, making it a safe red state with fairly consistent voting patterns. 2016 saw a slight decrease in the Republican share of the votes, with a larger share going to the Democratic and third-party candidates. Most of those votes came from the more urban counties in the state, which is the first crucial point to understanding Texas. 14 of its 254 counties are urban city centers, and those counties account for the Democratic lean in the state. The voter turnout in Texas is the second most important factor to understand. As the second most populous state in the country, with 20 million potential votes, only a fraction of Texans are even registered to vote, and nearly half of them don't vote. There are two demographic shifts that could possibly cause Texas to change. The first would be mobilizing Hispanic voters. Unfortunately, this incorrectly assumes that Hispanic voters will vote Democratic. In the past, Republican candidates such as George Bush have received over 40% of the Republican vote. Secondly, elderly voters, not to be morbid, but as the aging population is phased out of Texas, Democrats hope to see older urban Democrats moving into the suburbs, with millennial voters moving into the cities, and essentially dispersing the Democratic vote across the state. Ultimately, it is very likely that Texas will continue to remain a red state. Here's a lovely Monte Carlo simulation emphasizing this point. Thank you for a great semester.